A recap of the foolery in the last 24 hours. Hello there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of F Around and Find Out. I'm your host, Elsie, and we're going to get right into this. You know why we're here, right? Because we heard about the protective order. And I haven't had as much fun reading, one of these orders like I did last night. I was cracking up. My husband was looking at me like, it cannot be that funny. I'm like, yes, it is. And we're going to get into it right here. We won't be here long, but still, grab a snack. It's a good day. This order makes me very happy. So let's get into it. If you saw my Instagram video, my TikTok video, I said I don't think the judge is corrupt anymore. Because again, I feel like if there was a time to be corrupt, the way Blake has been guarding this Taylor Swift message and not wanting us to see it, this would have been it, right? And my reasoning, and a lot of people who said the judge they feel is a little shady, I still don't know that he's perfect. Obviously, I don't know that. But he could still be shady. I'll give you that. But I don't know that he is corrupted beyond saving. Let's say that, right? The reason I say that, and a lot of people were basing their decision, again, I'm going to repeat myself here, on the fact that the judge is not allowing Wayfair to compel Blake. But the thing is, right now, Blake Lively still has that deadline of July 1st. And Wayfair is also not giving up anything to Blake that they don't have to until that July 1st date. So the judge was being pretty fair in that front. So I don't buy into the idea of the judge is corrupt because of that, but also because of the word. And the judge is a little petty towards Blake here. We're going to get into it. I have all of that portions that I'm going to take the time to elaborate on so you can understand it the way I understood it, because that's why you're here and I love you for it. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe if you haven't already done so. And we're going to jump right into it. So we have Judge Lyman sending this order because Blake Lively moved for protective order. We know that, relieving her from producing documents responsive to request number 108 and 109 in request for the protection order served by the Wayfair parties on February 21st, right? Which requested the documents reflecting Lively and Taylor Swift's communications, okay? But Wayfair sent an opposing motion trying to compel Blake Lively to give those documents up rather quickly, and the judge shut that down. The judge, however, did allow Blake to file a letter in response to Wayfair. So I'm gonna highlight this right here so we can see the important stuff. So the Wayfair parties oppose the motion and cross move for an order compelling Lively to produce the documents, and that request is denied. Blake moved to file a reply to the opposition. That's been granted. The juicy stuff begins down here. Lively is relying, I'm paraphrasing to you, but the judge said Lively relies on the fact that the Wayfair parties previously attempted to subpoena Swift. We know Wayfair subpoenaed Taylor. We know they took their subpoena back, and the internet blew up, including me. Everybody was saying you don't take a subpoena back unless you got what you want. But now I'm figuring out that Wayfair was playing the long game. They subpoenaed Taylor, took it back, never really was prepared to take anything from Taylor. It was really just to turn Blake Lively's, the little thing behind the ballerina. They were twisting, they were yanking her chain a little bit. They pretty much set all of this into motion. They withdrew the subpoena and made public statements that they had everything that they needed. I will continue to remind you guys, Brian Friedman nor anybody from the Wayfair parties ever said that. In fact, I made a video back then when it happened about the fact that Wayfair was quiet and Taylor's team was quiet. The only people that were giving comments were Blake's team, and there were anonymous sources saying they gave up on the subpoena because they got what they wanted. And Taylor's team was quiet. Justin Baldoni was quiet. Brian Freeman was quiet. The team that was running rampant, talking about the fact that blah blah blah, they subpoenaed Taylor for fake C's, blah blah blah, was Blake's team, right? And I was like, it's very weird that the subpoenaing parties are shush, and the person sitting on the side is the one that's being the loudest, the most. She accordingly argues that either the Wayfair parties never needed any documents, relating to Blake and Taylor, in which case the documents that they're asking for would be irrelevant, or the waiver parties have already received communications, in which case everything is duplicative and redundant. And the judge says each of these arguments are unavailing to him because the waiver parties have not yet received any documentation or communication between Lively and Swift. So the request to Lively is not duplicative. It's not redundant. It's the first time they're asking for these documents for real, for real. Now, do we know that to be true? I don't know. I'm not saying anything. The last thing I need is for somebody to clip this and say Elsie said. Elsie didn't say nothing. Do I think Brian Freeman knows something? Absolutely the fuck yes. Do I think he has it on paper that he can produce in a subpoena? No, I don't think so. The Swift RFPs are relevant. Lively herself has identified Swift. Now, this is where the judge starts to really tell Blake about herself. He says Lively herself has identified Swift as someone likely to have knowledge about complaints or discussions regarding the working environment on the set of It Ends With Us. Lively properly notes that identification of a party in initial disclosures does not necessarily entail all the communications with that party are relevant to the claims and the defense in this case. However, the Swift RFPs are limited to communications about the film It Ends With Us or about this action. Lively alleges that Baldoni and Heath harassed her in numerous ways during work on It Ends With Us, that her concerns about her behavior began early in the pre-production and production process, and that she expressed her concern in contemporaneous messages. Given that Lively has represented that Swift had knowledge of the complaints or discussions about the working environment on the film, among other issues, the requests for messages with Swift regarding the film and this action are reasonably tailored. I love it. To discover information that would prove or disprove Lively's harassment and retaliation claims. Again, I'm going to toot my own horn and I'm going to remind everybody, including Blake Lively and her husband, that at the beginning of all of this, I said this.
So your husband knew you were being SH'd at work and he just sent you off every day without sending a check-in text?
That's suspicious.
The loving Ryan, he must have texted you one time while you were at work to be like, hey, babe, hi, my love. How is it at work right now? How is Justin? Is he in your space? Is he in your face? Do you feel safe? Do you feel comfortable? Can we get that, Blake? No? Really? I want to know how orchestrated this was, because you had to have told somebody, right? Did you text Taylor and be like, hey, Tay, this man and his head full of hair are here again, and I'm so uncomfortable? No? Okay. Surely you must have texted your mother. Somebody, Blake. Provide one person. If you could just give us one, you might have a leg to stand on. Until then, pack them kids up. We are about to go on a long ass vacation.
Yep, that's me. That's definitely me again, being a little clairvoyant. Because I had this question back in one month. This is 19 weeks ago. Back in February, I had this question. But if I made the video on February 4th, I had the question like back in January, way before, like, where are the text messages? Because in college, when girls were going through something like this, they were texting people about it, alibis. Even I believe her name is Alex, the Call Her Daddy girl. I talked about it the last time. She says when she went through this, she would call her parents. Her parents were actually documenting what was going on. So Blake, anybody. So it's very confusing to me. When Blake can say she doesn't want to show Taylor's text messages, the judge is reminding you right here that she expressed these concerns in contemporaneous messages. If you text Taylor, give it up. It helps you. Let's see it. Given that Lively has represented that Swift had knowledge of complaints or discussions about the working environment on the film, amongst other issues, the requests for messages with Swift regarding the film and this action are reasonably tailored to discover information that would prove or disprove Lively's harassment and retaliation claims. I don't care if you were texting with Mother Teresa. As long as you were texting somebody about what you were going through, it helps you. I don't care if you were also talking shit in the text messages. I don't care if you were disparaging Justin or somebody else in the text messages. As long as there is even one line of text within that time where you express to your friend, you express to the godmother to your children, hey, I'm going through this at work. This guy is doing this and that and that. It's good as a fucking alibi. You might, it's evidence. But the fact that we are in June and you have not ponied up those text messages, you have not leaked them. If the fact, first of all, why am I even doing all this talking? The fact that Taylor is not supporting you. Those text messages don't exist. Not only do they not exist, you probably have something crazy in those text messages that will probably shut this case down. I can't wait for Brian Freeman to get his hands on you come June 23rd, which is on Monday. Let's move on, shall we? Lively's motion is rooted in a broader concern that the waiver parties are using demands for communications with SWIFT not to obtain information relevant to claims and defense in court, but to prop up a public relations narrative outside of court. But this concern does not justify denying the waiver parties relevant discovery. Really, Judge Lyman, are you using common sense? I love it here. If the issue is that the waiver parties may leak the requested communications to the press, this concern is addressed by the protective order issued by the court, back in February or March when the judge gave them everything they wanted, pretty much including the attorney's eyes only. Yeah, exactly. That order was designed precisely to ensure that parties may share sensitive information that may be only tangentially related to the underlying cause of action without fear that it will be leaked to the press. If the issue is that the fact of the request itself has been used as part of a public relations narrative, this does not mean the request is irrelevant to the litigation or that the waiver parties will not seek to use resulting communications in the litigation. Your Honor! What? A motion or request may be, and in this case often has been, both legitimate litigation tactic and an attempt to maneuver in the public court of public opinion. Yes, Your Honor. The mere fact that the request has been discussed in the press does not render it illegitimate, and general and somehow hyperbolic public statements that the waiver parties do not need the evidence, many of which are not even attributed to the waiver parties but to an anonymous insider. Like I told you guys, Brian Freeman never said he got everything he wanted from Taylor. Anonymous people said that, and nobody could prove it ever came from Brian Freeman or anybody from the waiver parties. Hell, put it on me. I said that, Your Honor. It was me. I said that shit. Given that the Lively parties have not shown the information is relevant or its production will be unduly burdensome, the claim that the waiver parties have dramatized the request in the press does not justify a protective order against the production of responsive documents. Lively's motion for protective order is denied. Babe, get the champagne. Maybe not yet. It's a little too soon. The waiver parties' cross motion is also denied because, remember, I told you Brian Freeman and the waiver parties were putting pressure on Blake to pony up the documents. But the judge denies it, and I'm going to explain it. It makes perfect sense to me. The waiver parties seek to compel Lively to produce documents concerning her allegations of sexual harassment and retaliation, her communications with Sony, which released the film, and WME, her talent agency, concerning the same. Her claims of economic damages. The documents were demanded on February 21st, and Lively agreed on March 24th to the rolling productions of the documents. Lively states that she has agreed to produce the documents except communications with SWIFT, and is on track for substantial completion by July 1st, 2025, the deadline set by the court. Lively has proposed to the waiver parties that she will produce all the documents in the requested category by the end of this week if the waiver parties produce all video footage related to the film, unredacted versions of communications excerpted in the waiver parties' amended complaint and Exhibit A. The waiver parties have declined. The waiver party said, you could go shove your request up your ass. We're not giving you nothing till we get what we want. Thank you. Try again. So for that reason, the judge says there is no reason for the court to order Lively to expedite her production when the waiver parties have refused to do so, and especially because they refused her deal, right? The motion for protective order is denied. The cross motion to compel is also denied. Signed, sealed, delivered. Judge Lyman, and I'm here for it. Guys, this is a win. This is a win. I know a lot of people are calling it a loss for Justin to not be able to compel, but I don't think so. The compelling was only to allow them to probably get stuff sooner before the depositions. But Brian Freeman probably knows what he knows already. And he can probably extrapolate all that from Blake just by allowing her to talk in the depositions. I'm just so sad, like it cannot be live streamed. Do you know what I would pay to watch the live stream deposition of Blake Lively? Oh my God. It could feed families. It could help generations. I just thought I would bring this to you guys, explain it in layman's terms, the way I understand it, so you guys can also understand it. And I have faith in the judge. I have faith in his process. I don't love some of the orders that have come out, but this is not one to stand on to go forth with the allegations of corruption. I do, however, think maybe he is feeling some pressure from us and the public and everything that's gone on, as far as the, allegations we've put on him lately, to be like, you have to be fair. But I also feel very strongly about the fact that there is something Blake does not want us to see, whether it's proof of the extortion of Taylor Swift, whether it's proof that she never was SH, whether it's proof that she was actually in love with the man or wanted him and was texting Taylor about it, whatever it is that she doesn't want us to see. The bigger thing here that people are not realizing is Blake has explicitly said that she was texting Taylor about everything that was going on. So now if Brian Freeman gets his hands on those text messages and there's no text between you and Taylor saying anything about harassment, you lied. You lied to the court. You lied to counsel. You look crazy as hell. So not only does it look bad if you were saying something other than SH in those text messages, if you were lusting after the man, anything of the sort, but now if there is no proof of SH anywhere in those text messages, it doesn't look good for you either. So I know there are people in my comments and people saying they think the judge just granted this because there's nothing in those text messages. That doesn't look good for her either. So either way, this is a win for Justin. I want everybody to see it for what it is. And we're going to move on and we're going to keep an eye on the judge to make sure everything, is on the up and up. But I feel really good about this. And let me know what you think about it in the comments. I will bring you another video to prepare you because I feel like we all need a starter kit or something, like a preparation kit for the depositions coming on Monday. I appreciate you for being here. I thank you for joining me and I'll see you on the next one. Enjoy the outro music on your way out. And please make sure to like, share, leave a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. I love you all. Thank you so much. See you again. Bye-bye.